What is up, 7th grade? We're going to be going over our 40 through 44 quiz, just so that way you can make corrections on that wherever you made mistakes, and hopefully get some clarity on anything that you did not understand. I'm going to be going through all of the problems, so feel free to skip around and just get the ones that you need help with. For these first four, we need to remember that all three angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So for number 1, this one is 90 degrees. This one is 30 degrees, so I'm going to say 180 minus 90, which gives me 90. And then I'm going to go ahead and subtract that other one, which would give me 60 degrees. So this angle right here is 60 degrees. For this one here, for number 2, we're going to kind of do the same thing here, 180 minus 34. So I have to borrow, that's a 7, 10, 6, 4, 146. And then I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 56 from that. That's a 0, 14 minus 5 is 9. So that means this angle here is going to be 90 degrees. Now on 3 and 4, we have to do one more thing that we didn't already mention, and that is that vertical angles, or angles that are opposite from each other, are the same. So if this one right here is 29, that means this one right here is 29. So now we're just missing one angle from there, so again I'm going to say 180 minus, I'll go ahead and say the 117. So it's going to be a 7, so it's going to be a 3. 7 minus 1 is 6, so 63. Then we subtract that other one, minus 29. So it's going to be a 5, 13, so 4. So 34. So this one up here is going to be 34 degrees. And then one more here. Again, same idea. These are two intersecting lines, vertical angles, where there's ones across from each other, so they're going to be the same. So that angle is 95 degrees. So I'm going to say 180 minus 95 is going to give me 85. Then I'm going to subtract the other angle, minus 20. So it's going to be 65. So this angle here is 65 degrees. All right, so these next ones say simplify. And so we're going to be using the distributive property. Remember, the distributive property says if something is on the outside and you have, say, b plus c, but that's the same thing as like saying hippity-hoppity distributive property, a friend of mine used to say. So it's the same thing as ab plus ac. So it's one on the outside times the first one on the inside plus the one on the outside times the second one. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to say this negative 3 times negative n, so negative times a negative equals a positive. 3 times n is going to give me 3n. That's my hippity, and then my hoppity. Negative 3 times positive 4 is going to make a negative, different signs. 3 times 4 is 12. And that's going to be my answer. Notice I cannot add these two together because this one has an n in it, and this one does not have an n, so they're not like terms. They're different. So I'm just going to write it just like that. Over here, same idea here. So I'm going to say that negative 9 times m. So it's negative 9m. And negative 9 times negative 4. Negative times a negative gives me positive. And then 9 times 4 is 36. But notice this plus 4 on the end is not inside my parentheses. So I don't distribute this negative 9 over here. It kind of just hangs out here on the outside end. So I'll just go ahead and add that over here. Plus 4. So I cannot add this one and this one because this has an m in it and this one does not. I cannot add this one and this one because this has an m in it and this does not. However, I can add this one and this one, the 36 and the 4, because both of those are just constant. So then my answer is going to be negative 9m plus 40, because 36 plus 4 is 40. So that's going to be my answer. All right, number 7 and 8 says write each of these repeating decimals is what it's supposed to say with a bar over the repeated part. Okay, so notice here the 3 is the part that's repeating. The only thing that's repeating on this is the 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 0.083, and since the 3 is the part that repeats, I'm just going to put a line over the 3. I do not need to put 2 3s. So for instance, if I put this on my quiz, that would be counted as wrong. Why write more when I can write less? I don't need to write that second one. So this right here is going to be the correct answer. No. Okay. Now, as I look to number 8, I need to look at what's repeating. So I'm noticing it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then I'm going to write it like this. 3.1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now since all of those are repeating over and over again, I'm going to put the line over all of the part that repeats. All right, round each to 5 decimal places. So since this repeat is over the 5, that means this is 4.125555555, and it keeps going on for forever that way. So since I'm wanting to round it to 5 decimal places, I'm going to count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to cut it off right here. So I have 5 decimal places, and I had to look at the very next number after this. If it's a 5 or larger, I would make this round up. If it's smaller than a 5, this stays the same. So since this is a 5, that does round up, so then mine would be 4.12556. That's rounded to 5 decimal places. Now over here on number 10, this line is over all 3 of them, the 2, the 0, and the 4. So it's going to be 16.204, 204, 204, 204, and it keeps repeating like that over and over again. So again, I want to cut it off after 5 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to cut it right there. So I have 5 decimal places. I'm going to look at this next number. Since it is smaller than 5, this does not round, it just stays the same. So then my number is going to be 16.20420. All right, on number 11, first off, please just go ahead and do me a favor and cross off B. We're not going to be writing this with the remainder. Sorry. I put that in there and I shouldn't have. So go ahead and just cross that off if you did B, or I didn't mark anyone off points for that, but don't do B. So let's go ahead and says divide 1.4 by 11. So here we go. Let's say 1.4 divided by 11. Now 11 does not go into 1, so I'll put a 0 there. Does 11 go into 14? Yes, it does. It goes in there 1 time. So 1 times 11 is 11. So now I'm going to subtract. 14 minus 11 gives me 3. Go ahead and just add on a 0. How many times does 11 fit into 30? Fits into that 2 times. So this gives me 22 times. 2 times 11 is 22. It gives me 8. How many times does it fit into 8? Fits into that 7 times. So 7 times 11 is 77. Subtract and I get a 3. Add on a 0. How many times does 11 fit into 30? I feel like I've done that before. It goes into that 2 times. 2 times 11 is 22. Subtract and end up with 8. Hey, and I'm noticing the pattern. See, I had the 3 before, so I add on the 0. And then after the 3, I got the 8, so it's starting to repeat. So notice it's going 2, 7, 2, 7, 2, 7, 2, 7, 2, 7. So since I'm writing it for part A with the line over it, I'm going to say 0.12556. 2, 7, and the 2, 7 is repeating, so I just put the line over the 2 and the 7. Have to make sure you don't get messy with that, okay? For part C, it says round to the nearest hundredth. Round to the nearest hundredth. So remember, this goes tenths, hundredths, thousandths, etc. So I'm wanting to cut it off right here, and the nearest hundredth, or 2 decimal places. Again, since the 7 is 5 or larger, that means this is going to round up. So for part C, so I guess I should say this is part A here. And for part C, it's going to be 0.13, because that 7 makes it round up. All right. Here, for number 12 now. It says just arrange them from smallest to greatest. So let's go ahead and I'm going to write them above each other here. So this first one is 0.6. This next one is 0.6 repeating. So this is going to be 0.66666, etc. Keep going. The next one is 0.66. And then the last one is 0.55555, ... So to see which one is the largest, we start as far left as we can. Notice all of these are the same. Since all of those are the same, we need to go to the next one. We're looking for the smallest one. The next number here is all 6s, except for this last one, which is a 5. So since 6 is larger than 5, this one is going to be my smallest number. So I'm going to go ahead and write that one first because it says from smallest to largest. So 0.5 repeating is going to be my smallest one. All right, so now we can kind of cross that one off. We're looking between these 3. So if this one is all the same, we have to move to the next one. Now I don't see a number here, so if it's helpful, we could draw in zeros after this, right? Though it doesn't affect the way it is after the decimal point. So these are all the same, so I'm looking here. This is a 0, this is a 6, and a 6. So this is the smallest one, so this is a 0.6. So that's going to be my next one. 0.6. And keep going. So these two, now we can cross this one off because this is smallest, the second smallest. So these are the same, these are the same, these are the same. Now we go here. Which one is larger? This one is larger, which means this one is smaller. So it'd be 0.66 and then 0.6 repeating. All right, just 6 more. So here we go. Number 13, it says write each as a decimal. Use repeating decimals when necessary. So here we go. We're going to say 1 divided by 8, because that's what that means. 1 divided by 8. So how many times does 8 fit into 1? Well, it doesn't, so I'll have to use a decimal place. We'll add a 0. How many times does 8 fit into 10? Just 1 time. 1 times 8 is 8. Subtract 10 minus 8 gives me 2. How many times does it fit into 20? So that 2 times, because it gives me 16. That's 4, and then add on the 0. Fits into 45 times. 5 times 8 is 40. I'm kind of going into my next problem. So now it's down to 0. So my answer is going to be 0.125. Same idea here with 14. I'm going to do 3 divided by 5. 5 does not fit into 3, so I add the decimal. On the 0, well, 5 fits into 30 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. Comes to be 0, so this one is a little bit faster. 0.6 be my answer. Number 15 and 16, it says write as a fraction. So to write as a fraction, I just need to look at this, and I need to notice how many numbers do I have to the right of the decimal place. So notice I have 1, 2 numbers to the right of that. So I can write this like this, and there's a few ways to think of this. So this is 31 over 1 with 2 zeros. because if I were to say this number, this is 31 hundredths. 31 hundredths. So this is 31 hundredths. Then I want to reduce, but 31, I believe, is a prime number, so there's no number that will reduce between those two. So it's just going to be 31 over 100. For this next one, I have one number to the right of 0, so I could write it like this, 2 over 1 with 1 0. Or if you want to think of it, this is 2 tenths. 2 tenths. Now this one does reduce because both 2 and 10 is divisible by 2, so I'm going to divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 10 divided by 2 is 5. So I need to make sure and reduce that. So I think it probably was worth 3 points. One for reducing it, one for getting this, and one for having attempted it. Okay? And then last two, it says write each as a decimal. So notice these are a percent. So a couple of different ways to think of this. Let's go with black. So remember, a percent always relates a number to 100. So you can just say 55 over 100. And then if you wanted to do your division, you could. 55 divided by 100. It doesn't go into those. Doesn't go into 5, doesn't go into 55, so I add the decimal. And add a 0. It goes into 550 5 times. 5 times 100 is 500. End up with 50. And then add on a 0. 100 goes into 500 5 times. 5 times 100, 500. Okay, so if you want to use that method, you can definitely do that. So this is equal to 0.55. But kind of as a way, hopefully we recognize this as a pattern, or we've seen this before. If I divide by 100, that's the same thing as moving the decimal place over 2 to the left. The decimal place is here, unwritten, so we'd move 2 to the left, giving it right here. 1, 2. The other idea is you could just take the percent and move it over 2 places to the left, and it's going to be the same. So we can use that principle to make this a little bit easier here for number 18. I just need to move this 2 decimal places to the left, so I'm going to say 0.308. I hope that helped. Hopefully maybe cleared up some misunderstandings or something you didn't understand ever. If you still need more help, you guys have my number, or come by and see me in my classroom at some point or after school, before school. Good luck, guys. I know you're going to do awesome.